Welcome, friends. My name is Reverend Jason Hubbard. If you don't know me, I am one of the clergy who serve Fountain Street Church here, and I spend most of my days, and Sunday in particular, in our chapel, which gathers at 9:30 in the morning. And this morning was blessed to receive the first of two teachings from Ted Jha, who offered our invocation this morning. Ted helped us to explore the beginnings of a path towards Thanksgiving that we hope to share also with you today. It is a path which touches all of our lives in ways I think you will find deeply meaningful to your life as a part of this community. One of the things that I want to lift up as a part of our welcome this morning is a welcome to you to get to know some of those who are working extremely hard to help guide and steward and care for our community. They are those who have lifted up their names as being willing to serve as governing board members. So in the hour following worship here, if you get yourself a cup of coffee, you can go out to our Keeler Lounge, which has not only beautiful art, but will host 4 of our 5 governing board candidates who have placed their names in offering of their life and service of this community as a member of our governing board. And I really encourage you to take just a little bit of time to stop by and see the faces and meet the names of those who are really your servants in this community's life together. Friends, I welcome you to Fountain Street Church. Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, all of you this day is welcome here.
Come on up, shh, come on up, shh, come on up, shh, come on up, shh. One night I dreamed I was in slavery, about 1850 was the time. Sorrow was the only sign, nothing around to ease my mind. Out of the night appeared a lady leading a distant pilgrim band. First mate, she appointing her hand, make room of Lord for this young man, and saying, come on up, I've got a lifeline, come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I've got a lifeline, come on up to this train of mine. She said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad, railroad. Come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up, hundreds of miles we traveled onward, gathering slaves from town to town, seeking every lost and found, setting those free that once were mine. Somehow my heart was growing weaker, now by the wayside sinking sand. For me, she's this lady sad, lifted me up and took my hand, and saying, come on up, I've got a lifeline, come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I've got a lifeline, come on up to this train of mine. She said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad, railroad. Who are these children dressed in red? They must be the ones that Moses led. Who are these children dressed in red? They must be the ones that Moses led. And saying, come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up. And saying, come on up, I've got a lifeline, come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I've got a lifeline, come on up to this train of mine. She said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad, railroad, Underground, Underground Railroad. Come on up.
Special thank you to the Grand Rapids Women's Chorus and Lori Tenenhouse, their director, and Phil, their accompanist. It's a special delight for me to have them all here. I'm a current non-singing member. For those of you who don't know me, I am Bethany Joy Wynn. I am an intern with the Fountain Street Chapel community and Jason this year, so I won't be in the 11 o'clock hour too often, but I'm privileged to be here with you today. Come on up. I got a lifeline. In a time of slavery and inhumanity, Harriet Tubman extended an invitation to a different possibility. She could see it, she could feel it down to her tired feet and pumping through her liberating heart. The words of the song said, gathering slaves from town to town, seeking every lost and found, setting those free who once were bound, shepherding bodies from a place with no future to freedom and to life. And at a different time of violence and inhumanity, we are gently, angrily singing for our lives, seeking justice together. Some of the verses that we didn't sing name that we are young and old together, gay and straight together. We are people of many colors and from many different lands, extending an invitation to freedom, growth, and a changed world. We continue, under the threat of violence and in valleys of darkness, to gather together, to imagine a different possibility in this life, and to join the chorus, and in this case, the literal chorus, and those who have gone before us, saying, come on up, I got a lifeline. So let's practice saying this together, because it takes courage to claim a vision of life. So repeat after me. Come on up. Come on. I got a lifeline. Well, I was raised to believe that prayer was something that one always did with words, usually at God. And this kind of prayer rarely worked for me. I'm new to the Fountain Street community, so I don't know how you pray. But one thing that I know that we all have in common is bodies. And we are here in this space with our bodies. Our bodies hold stress. Our bodies hold pain and fear. Our bodies express joy, and our bodies feel things when we are close to someone we love. Our bodies also pray. So I'm going to offer an invitation to you to pray with your body in this next few moments. To the extent that you are able and willing, I invite you into a particular posture that I will describe in just a moment. If it is not physically possible for you, just hear the words and imagine the posture, and your body will sense it regardless of your physically adopting it. This is a posture of prayer of vulnerability. And the point of praying vulnerability is that today, as we look at some history and as we look forward to Thanksgiving and we think about where we are coming from and where we are going toward in terms of taking and giving, it requires some vulnerability to look at ourselves, to look at our culture and our faith practices, our spiritual practices, our family and cultural practices. So as we go into this space, we're inviting vulnerability. Vulnerability I define as realizing that we are not designed to handle life on our own and that we need resources beyond our own selves. So join me now, if you will, by extending your neck forward and just gently bowing your head. Feel the back of your neck stretch as you face the floor. Deliberately draw your shoulders back so that you're not hunched forward. And let the muscles of your chest strain while you hold your upper body back and tilt your head forward. Let your extended neck be a symbolic posture of vulnerability and of releasing into the abundance that is you and that is more than you. As our bodies pray for us, I invite you now into a few moments of silence.
Thanksgiving is coming, my friends, and it's only 12 days away. Oh my God, Thanksgiving is coming. Friends, it is 12 days away. Thanksgiving is coming. It's 12 days away. Do you remember Thanksgiving last year? We had a little thing called an election. Oh my God, Thanksgiving is coming. It's only 12 days away. That little thing called an election invited more than a few of you because you came to my office, sometimes in tears, and told me that for the first time in your lives, you were welcomed, if not demanded, if not felt somehow convicted to name someone you love as the enemy. Because they voted for a xenophobic, misogynist, sexual predator who is now our president. This is not my opinion. This is a captured on film and tape, self-admitted truth of the presidency of the United States. This is not my opinion. And you will bring that to Thanksgiving. And it's only 12 days away. If you didn't have this experience last Thanksgiving, I'm so glad. But I promise you that you know someone who did. And so these words, which are my very best attempt to offer some light into the struggle of this coming holy moment of American high communion at the table of thanks and giving, I can only pray will be a blessing, if not to you, then to one you love. Because I gotta wonder, do we really need a mythic, multi-ethnic meal of Thanksgiving anymore? Most of which, if you live in the world of progressive, forward-thinking, education-seeking people, you know is based on profound lies about what happened at the first Thanksgiving. And it's going to feel weird and strange if we all go to Thanksgiving table this year and pretend none of this is happening, right? Because Thanksgiving's already weird and strange, right? I mean, I'll just peer into my little world for a moment. Our Thanksgiving table will, for the first time in more than a decade, welcome my former wife and her mother. And we're likely to have at least one Trump voter joining us from an extended part of the family, 4 adult children, one of whom is queer, all of whom are no longer required by law to show up because the judgment of divorce says they have to. My mother will be there by Skype with her new boyfriend, who, God bless, 5 years after my beloved stepfather passed away. She has found a new man, and if you don't think it's weird that his nickname is Hot Dawn, come on in to my little world. And who knows what random people are coming to our Thanksgiving table. Last week we had a family of Kenyans living with us. Dana and I met a tiny little Hindu man in San Francisco at an ashram we studied at once, and I managed to spill my entire dinner plate all over his living room. And she looked at me like, how could you? And he said to us the only thing that has kept us sane through a mixed family and now 5 nearly adult children and all the rest of what it means to be divorced and remarried and have family on every side of the political spectrum and every gender identity and food preference, blah, 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 blah. He said to me as I tried pathetically to pick up the food off the floor, don't worry. If it's not messy, it's not yoga. If it's not messy, it's not yoga. All of this family weird is going to be joined by what can only be serious amounts of unspoken pain. Pain about who we are and are not as Americans gathered at this table who have lived through the last year. A table which we imagine holds seriously the highest form of American communion, even for those who hold no theistic perspective. This ritual is more sacred than really almost anything else we do as a culture, and it is in deep, deep trouble. We are going to have to heal our Thanksgiving tables. And let me assure you, no one is coming to do it for us. We must heal our Thanksgiving tables so that they can hold not only the ever-increasing amount of family weird, which I'm sure is in your life too, but an ever-increasing amount of pain that we are not who we told we were as children, and we are not a part of a dream that we were taught because it is based on a false history. We will need to heal them so that we are strong enough so that we can handle all of that, plus all that we know is coming. Our Thanksgiving tables will have to handle the truth about our rapidly declining environment, the fallout of a rapidly destabilizing global nuclear situation, the shame of our healthcare system, which serves almost no one in the richest industrialized country in the world, a wealth gap that is inviting violence like we have never seen before. We will need to be free to bring more of this pain of greed and racism and gun madness and policing and the fear of everything that is different than the dream we were handed as children, and we are not safe, not in our schools, not in the movie theaters, the concert venues, the shopping malls, and not even in the blessed church. We are not free. And there's only 12 days until Thanksgiving. Our tables are going to have to hold all of this. And we are called to rebuild them from their very foundations, beginning with the truth. And most profoundly, the truth of our history, which Ted Jaw gave us an incredible blessing at 9:30 this morning to say, there is no call to guilt or shame in being a white person willing to speak the truth of what has happened to our Native brothers and sisters. And so I invite you to that same freedom from guilt and shame and the opportunity to know that the foundation of an American Thanksgiving table must begin with the tribes and the land and the story that is literally beneath this church and in the dirt that was taken from the Grand River Band of the Ottawa. Regardless of your experience at Thanksgiving, my friends, last year or any year, this year, all of us will come as close as every Native person can tell you to what it would feel like to be Native. Every Thanksgiving for 500 years. Because we have just barely tasted this last year what it must be like to be considered dispensable to the power of a new and foreign hostile leader. We can now taste just a morsel of the indignity of having our children taught half-truths and outright lies and robbed of their language in our own schools. We can now feel what it must be like to be ignored, even as many more of us scream together with more tribes that have ever gathered at a Standing Rock that people and water and land are sacred and that we will never, ever, ever be able to drink oil or eat money. It's almost too much, isn't it? Because Thanksgiving's coming. how can we hold this all? And if your mind is anything like mine, as you're spending even just a few moments with some of what has been offered here, your mind is running ahead of itself, saying, you're trying to wreck the prettiest place, the only safe place I have left. And I want to remind you, it was never safe. Ask anybody who lives in the LGBTQ plus world how unsafe our pretty Thanksgiving tables are. What would be life transforming would be that if each and every one of us were brave enough to rebuild a table of thanks and giving that was truly brave and truly safe. Because there is not a need for one word or idea I have offered this morning to ruin anybody's Thanksgiving. In fact, I will suggest to you this morning that this is an invitation to a Thanksgiving that is one you will never forget because of its beauty. An invitation to make the table truly strong, truly meaningful, truly valuable. I can tell you exactly how it's going to be. I can't tell you how to do it because no one is coming to do it for us. To heal our tables will require that we clean up some serious messes. Messes that are not our fault as largely white European privileged people, but they are our responsibility. And so I want to invite you, my very powerful and creative liberal religious friends, to practice the very mission statement of this community in the next 12 days. And craft yourself a spiritual journey which will land at the table of thanks and giving. To set a new course that will probably look nothing like the course and voyage of one named Christopher Columbus. A voyage that might in very real ways discover a brand new world for you and those who would gather at your table of thanks and giving. Oh, I wonder and I hope that you will choose to make this a Thanksgiving season you will never, ever forget. Because you chose to be brave and vulnerable with the truth. I've offered each of you today the best I can as something of a blueprint for the table you might build in your home between now and Thanksgiving. Because it's not a real table, right? We're all long past the idea that it's the wood and from the tree. That this is about building a place. And if all you have is a cardboard box, it will be enough. The gift I offer to you today is in your bulletin. So if you're curious to take a look, I welcome you to it. It's a translation from the Hebrew of the 23rd Psalm. I imagine that almost all of us, even if church is not a part of your life, have run into the 23rd Psalm. We mostly hear it at funerals as words of comfort. And I ask you to take these words with you in this very new translation, which should make you wonder if it's just all made up. Or if maybe what the Hebrew could reveal to you in the next 12 days through your spending time in a very ancient way with these words designed to tell you what the table of thanks and giving looks like, might invite you to the most profoundly transformative experience relative to Thanksgiving you have ever had. Not because I'm so smart, but because your heart will follow these words and find one small place, whether aloud or silently at your table of thanks, that will be braver and stronger and more courageous, because you crafted a spiritual journey with an ancient story told by people for more than 2 millennia about what the table of thanks and giving looks like. And so I want to give you a couple of highlights of where my world bumps into these old words, so that it might encourage you to find the sparkly ones that could inspire you and the ones you love to talk about the table you choose to build this year. A table that could be strong enough to hold all that I have been getting crazy prophet-like up here about. Oh me, oh life, you. I'm sure that more than a few of you recognize Uncle Walt in those words. But the truth of the matter is, the ancient word for God is Elohim, which is in itself a word so expansive that it must include, as Martin Buber, the great theologian, revealed to us, both a me and a you and a life between us. Oh me, oh life, you. You are like my shepherd. And so it begins with the idea that to build a table of thanks and giving built in the truth and bravery and courage and strength will suggest that the way towards that is to behave like a shepherd, and shepherds lead from behind. I can tell you who my leader is at my Thanksgiving table this season. She's my oldest daughter, now almost 22. Out and queer and proud and absolutely courageous and willing to humble her daddy. I plan on shepherding that table, following some seriously powerful sheep with my bride and the ancestors who showed me once how to welcome. I have need of nothing more. You call me to release into an already present abundance. Will you take time this week to name, if not out loud to the ones you love, silently to yourself, the truth of the abundance, which will have nothing to do with how pretty your Thanksgiving table might be? And in the moments where you might find yourself worried if what you are doing is enough, and whether or not all of those voices of approval are necessary so that you might do a thing at the high altar of thanks and giving of American culture, and get over the lack which every moment of your television is preaching to you. You are not enough. You are not enough. You are not enough. Oh, me, oh, life, you guide me in your name. It's not about you. If your Thanksgiving table is about you, you didn't do the work. And so this week I'm going to post a guy who will help you do the work, and it will terrify you. His name is Dr. Mark Charles. He comes to us from Washington, D.C., and he speaks regularly at Calvin, and he spoke at the January series, I believe it was last year, and I will share with you an hour of his teaching, which will do the hard work of getting over ourselves and what we thought Thanksgiving was. And he will lead you stronger and more brave, I promise. But that work is called a redeeming justice in the Hebrew, not just justice over there. It is a justice that redeems us all, especially those of us who are responsible for all that is true that will come to our table. And that's those valleys of darkness where we are free not to fear the evil, because, oh me, oh life, you are with me. And will you pick up the language of the crook and the staff that are not weapons? Because every one of us has a story of the weapons of our family system, which will be on full display at our tables. And those weapons, if you are willing to see them with compassion rather than fear, are simply the tools that everyone who is broken among us has pulled out so that they might try to stay safe. And if you are a liberal religious person willing to go on a spiritual journey to become more so that you don't have to pull yours out too, you win. You love. You see your weapons first. And say a quiet prayer for those who are so terrified of their own lives as they sit at your table that you would be tempted to name them your enemy. Because that's what it really says in the old poetry. That we name them the enemy. They're not really the enemy. We name them. And are you willing to name them as a part of your practice in the 12 days? My God, there's only 12 days until Thanksgiving. To write the names on a piece of paper and ask for redeeming justice for all you have done. To tear apart the "oh me, oh life, and you." It was the gift you were given at your birth of your one precious and always good, no matter what you will ever do, life. That's the gospel. That you were given once and still have a goodness which can never be taken from you, no matter how broken your life becomes. And will you be willing to say the words that surely goodness and loving kindness will pursue me? To look at what is behind us, holding us with enough power and bravery and courage to speak the truth about history and not have that be the thing which frightens us so much that we can't then build an altar of thanks and giving that is so incredibly awe-filled because of all that is wrong and broken that we hold upon it, that we might all stand with one and the other and say a word that might be of prayer or thankfulness or a simple silence. It says, thank you. Thank you. What I'm calling you to, friends, is a hard thing. And if you can't name in this hour what it is that needs to be healed at your family's table of thanks and giving, then take courage in the good news that some others around us are showing us what it looks like. Showing us what it looks like to set forth our lives and build a table that is braver and more humble in relationship to the "oh me, oh life, and you." Because last week the world showed us what a table strong enough to hold last year looks like. We have a Sikh mayor in Hoboken, New Jersey, a transgendered person elected to Congress, the first black female ever elected to Charlotte, the state of Maine expanding, God forbid, Medicaid, and New York passing laws to strip pensions from elected officials convicted of a crime. Can I get an amen? Let it wash over you, friends. This is what people who choose to build a new table of thanks and giving, because make no mistake, these people and others like our senior minister, Fred Wooden, who has put his name on the line for Congress, like our own Brian Walters. I don't know if Brian's here today, but I got blessed by him last night walking past his front door, and he invited me in, and I got to drink beer for free. That's been the perks of preaching. That man and his family built a new table among you. And he's calling you all to it right now. You want to change the world? A man who preaches the gospel you hear here is now in a seat of power. Be a servant to that. My friends, I wonder and I hope. I wonder and I hope and I believe, yes, I believe that you can build a Thanksgiving you will never forget. This year, I am not asking you to blow up your family. And if you think that I am, please come to my office this week because we will fix that. I am asking you to do the humble but brave and deeply courageous of believing that the author of your life believes in you, that you could tell the truth in some small and new way through the table of thanks and giving in your life, and it might free the people who come to you. You will not be the first to use the 23rd Psalm to imagine how you might build a new world that would be, quote unquote, discovered. Some old folks, St. Francis, Martin Luther King, a few others, thought this was a pretty good plan to build from too. And you have the permission of every life and every soul and every ancestor that has ever come before you to pick up the plan and build a table of thanks and giving that indeed will change your world. May it be so. And amen.
As the chorus is getting on the stage, I have the great pleasure of getting to teach you all a chorus of the song we're going to sing today, and you get to join us during the song. So if you look in your bulletin, you'll see the words. The name of this piece is called Fired Up, and it was written by Holly Neer, who's a fantastic social activist, war protester, and amazing person, as well as a composer. Phil, give me that first note, alto part, C sharp. So, repeat after me. I'm going to sing one line of it, and you get to sing it back. Fired up, ain't gonna take it no more.
Fired up, ain't gonna take it no more.
Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more.
Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more.
You say cool down, we say step down.
You say cool down, we say step down.
You're breaking my mother's heart.
You're breaking my mother's heart.
Try it. Well, how about you try it with the chorus once, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Fired up, ain't gonna take it no more. Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. You say cool down, we say step down. You're breaking my mother's heart.
Awesome, good job. Okay, so we're gonna start the song. We do the first verse without you. Then you come in, and then we'll do some other verses. You can listen, and then you can come back in, and I'll point to you when the time comes.
Fired up, ain't gonna take it no more. Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. You say cool down, we say step down. You're breaking my mother's heart. Fired up, ain't gonna take it no more. Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. You say cool down, we say step down. You're breaking my mother's heart. Shame, shame. Children need schools more than they need jails. That's where our society fails. First 7 years creates a child's foundation, mandatory for a healthy nation. And fired up, they gonna take it no more. Tied up, they gonna take it no more. You say cool down, say step down. In my mother's heart, shame, 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 shame. Lord, and they died of shame. Mothers and mothers, children for more. Children are missing and there's something wrong. Fired up, ain't gonna take it no more. Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. You say cool down, you say step down. You're breaking my mother's heart. Can't just focus on the kids with wealth. You can't pick and choose who gets the health care. Taking Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. You say cool down, you say step down. Shame, 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 shame. Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. Tied up, ain't gonna take it no more. You say cool down, you say step down. Breaking my mother's heart. You're breaking my mother's heart.
I welcome you one and all to rise for a benediction, a good word, as we send ourselves out into the community. We're going to reprise that tune following the benediction, so feel free to stay if you enjoy listening, but this will also be your music to find your way back out into the world. Friends, Thanksgiving is coming. You hold in your hand an invitation to change your world. Would you please, please, craft a spiritual journey in these 12 days that would indeed, in some small way, make this the Thanksgiving you will never forget. Go in peace.